Hola mi gente, welcome to the Money Chisme podcast, where we spill the real chisme on building wealth without the bullshit. Whether you're trying to invest, grow that side hustle, finally get your money right, or my favorite, buy rental properties, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Violeta, a first-gen Mexican immigrant, real estate investor, entrepreneur, and your financial hype woman. Get ready for tips, tricks, and expert advice straight from nuestra comunidad, porque el dinero es power and we're here to claim it. Don't forget, you can always find helpful resources down in the show notes and in descriptions, so make sure you check that out. I am someone that is part of the sandwich generation, and one of the biggest things that I guess keeps me up at night, and I'm sure many of those that are part of the sandwich generation, is we are the retirement plan for our families. And you might not think so, or it might not come to mind right away, but part of that is, caregiving. And, what about the finances with that? I know that is something, that I've been thinking about and trying to plan for. And, it's very stressful. So with me today, I'm excited to have is Basiliso Moreno to share his story, his journey through caregiving and everything that comes along with it. Hola, Basiliso. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
My dad, he just hit 65 last year, and my mom's going to be just around the corner. So all of this is definitely on the top of my mind. But before we get into the conversation, yeah, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. My name is Basiliso Moreno, like you said. Everybody calls me Bas. I'm a licensed mental health social worker in the state of Delaware. I'm a certified financial social worker helping people of color in the sandwich generation who are stressing out about their finances while caring for their older adult parents. So, perfect. This is why we're having that conversation. I'm also a public speaker, talking about finances, mental health, self care, in our communities. Do a lot of in person presentations, virtual presentations. Also host a podcast myself, the Social Work Rants podcast. So yeah, it's been stay busy. I'm a two-time published author as well, so I do quite a lot of different things.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you're out here and sharing your experience and expertise. But for those who may not know what the sandwich generation is, who does that include?
Yeah, for the most part, it includes. So I use myself an example. So
Mm-hmm.
I have two kids. I have a 16-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter, and I'm currently caring for my 78-year-old dad. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the middle, and I'm sandwiched in between the two generations. And so that's part of it. And it's not just necessarily like older adults. Most people would think it would be older adults, but also caring for be like either younger siblings and
Mm-hmm.
with parents, or and you're the one that's responsible for caring your younger siblings. So, but for the most part, for this conversation, I'll focus on parents, grandparents, uncles, and caring for kids, and we're stuck in that middle.
Yeah, yeah, that's like um I first gen like immigrants pretty much fall under that category as well, which is like,
Hmm.
me, because we are uh the ones in the middle of, figuring out, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, of being the retirement plan for our parents. And then of course, I have a 1 year old and I have a stepson who's 15. So he's around the corner of, adulthood, and now I'm stressing about like, okay, what we all we have to do with him, and then set up my daughter as well. So it's, yeah, being the sandwich generation is definitely not for the weak. So it's a
Absolutely.
stressful situation. When did you become aware that it was going to fall on your shoulders to kind of like take care of the older generation and the next generation?
Um, that is a good question, and
Yeah.
it's hard to really pinpoint like a certain time frame or because it was always the three of us, and when I say the three of us is me, my mom, and my dad. So I
Mm-hmm.
grew up as an only child. I do have half siblings, but growing up as an only child, it was just the three of us, and you know, until eventually I met my first wife, and then
Mm-hmm.
moved out, and then having my two kids, and even then, like still, like it didn't really hit me of like
Mm-hmm.
no, I spent so much time like focusing on caring for my kids that my parents were for the most part, my mom had like diabetes bang on it, but at least she was taking her medicine, going to the
Mm-hmm.
doctors, still staying somewhat active. You know, my dad, even though slowly even before my kids were born, he developed a kidney issue
Mm-hmm.
that so quick story. So my dad used to paint and plaster apartment buildings, different apartments, and one day he like was painting uh, a ceiling in some apartment building, and he fell off a ladder. He broke a couple of ribs, but when they did testing, they found out he had like initially like a hole in his kidney, and they were doing all these different tests, and now he ended up with called polycystic kidney disease. So that fall actually pretty much saved his life because he didn't know anything about it. We didn't know anything about it. Um, so now he had to get a kidney transplant. So even with that, like I was so focused on just working, social work is stressful by itself.
Oh yeah.
Adding, marriage can be stressful, and it was stressful for a while. Then having a newborn that, like, I really wasn't real, like I was there for my dad, but not really. Like I I lived in a different state, only like a half hour, 45-minute drive, but still like living in New Jersey, he's living in the Bronx, and so
Mm-hmm.
just not it's just phone calls and just checking up on him that way and stuff like that. So it really wasn't when I got divorced and moved back home with the kids, and then kind of like really that was like 24 towards the end of 2014. They're like, all right, I'm caring for my kids. My parents are helping me, like taking care of them, and kind of still working and like doing all the things a parent does, and like, all right, I help out with the expenses of the house, and kind of like really, really paying attention, like, okay, what medicines my parents are taking. Like, my dad got he's like a human pharmacy. He got so many medications. I give him credit
Jeez.
to take like all these different medicines that he knows what to take. He knows the milligrams, and like he's sharp like that. For me, if I'm on medicine, like I'll forget I'll forget to take it. I'm like 20, 30 years younger than him. So it's like he's on it with his meds, which is good because it helped me out as caring for him now. And like, all right, he still knows his meds, and like I'm following, tracking on it now. So it really
Mm-hmm.
was like 2014, 2015, kind of like really kind of like, all right, like kind of see what's out there, but still like, you know, life be life in, and my divorce got finalized, and like then I had to get like full custody of my kids, and that happened, and then actually my ex-wife had passed away in 2016, so that was like it was like kind of 2014 to 2016 was really like a rough patch
Oof.
in just life, and having to like really let my parents kind of help me kind of take over like even more, like helping me raise the kids and picking the kids up from school while I work, and kind of just being there for each other, and then really was going to 2019. It was one weekend in June. I was going to see the kid's godmother, spend like a day there, and then my best friend was getting married. And I told my mom had a history of falls, and that she had a bad fall to a point that she had to get like 5 to 7 staples in her head one time. because she suffered from vertigo on top of her diabetes and stuff like that. So she was prone to falls. I told her like, I'm not gonna be home this whole weekend. Like, you need to like just be careful. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. And literally, I'm, I'm in I'm in Poughkeepsie in New York with my god. I call her my little sister, the kid's godmother's house, and I get a text message through the emergency line that my mom has. And it's like, oh, sound like your mom got had to go to the emergency room. I'm like, I just told her not to. She needs to be careful. And she's like, and then I call her. No, eventually I found out she broke her ankle in two places, and then she needs to go to a short term rehab, to do the physical therapy to care for her ankle to get better. She ends up developing a bed sore on the same ankle she broke, so she needed what's called a wound vac, which is actually no, it's like an example would be like a handheld vacuum that you use to clean your couch. It looks very similar to that, just for your viewers or listeners to kind of understand. But that goes on your actual skin, so that your skin could get hard and start to heal, and like all that pus and all that all that nasty stuff that when you like break skin, to heal all that up, and it wasn't healing because of her. I was told because of her diabetes that it wasn't healing the way it was supposed to heal. So, my work life and my home life, personal life, started to merge because during that time, I started working with older adults too, and I do all that stuff anyway. At the time, working with clients who have like broken skin and needing like wound care stuff. And then I got another job working with older adults, so literally doing discharge planning from hospital back home or nursing homes back home. So I literally had to do my own discharge plan, my own social work discharge plan
Oh,
for my own mom. And our unsafe discharge was on top of that because
oh,
she wasn't doing well with the physical therapy. They kind of deemed her bedbound, which I didn't. Until this day, I don't fully accept that was deemed bedbound. So they try to give me what's called a Hoyer lift. It's basically a piece of equipment that they're like hoist you up and like to help to transfer to get up from like the bed to whatever chair if you want to sit down on the couch, and it's like a strap. Now is it changed now is like kind of different material and better, more safer
mhm.
now. Um, but I was like, I can't accept this equipment because it doesn't fit in my house. So I was going back and forth with like the nursing home regarding equipment I needed in my house. I just need a hospital bed and all the, so all, so all those things like on top of that, still, my dad, luckily, he does his walks, he takes his meds, he sees his doctors regularly. Because he's on a certain, like a blood thinner, he has to get blood work, you know, kind of like every week. So he's on it. So I'm not really worried about him too much in terms of health. So, yes, I'm his caretaker, but all this drama with my mom was kind of like taking place and happening, and like literally I'm like 9 months of my life like literally going through this. So like literally she spent like her last birthday, her last living birthday, in the nursing home, spent Christmas, Thanksgiving, my birthday, like the whole like 2019 going into beginnings of 2020, and obviously the first rumblings of what we know end up being COVID. We started hearing about it and like kind of like worried, but not really worried about it. And like literally, she came home like 2 weeks before the world shut down. So at least I
Oh,
got that chance to get her out the house, be at home finally, and kind of like
mhm.
care for her. Like literally, I had to like change diapers and like give her sponge baths, just like the whole, so like the whole circle of life. I'm like, I was tired. I thought I finished like changing diapers, and here I go back again for my mom. And that's something that we do in the Latino community, like without.
Uh-huh.
That's just generally speaking, historically part of our like just traditions that we just take care of our seniors, whatever that looks like. We just do it. So I did it. Like just and it was hard too because I had like months prior, like I had hurt my hand playing basketball, and like it was the same hand I was using to like, change diapers
Yeah.
and doing all that stuff. So, and then I had got diagnosed with two herniated discs in my back. So those changing diapers, like I was like out, like I needed like some Advil. I think I was on, you know, muscle relaxers at the time too, because of how much pain like I was in, just to like it was rough during that time, and like yeah, I complained about it, but like I to go back to do that again, I would do it in a heartbeat because it's my mom as a result of COVID. Like she passed away like early May as a result of COVID. So it was rough and kind of like because so much happened. Not only losing, I lost clients because of COVID, like losing my mom at the same time. So it was like my kids actually like moved into my girlfriend's house, just just to kind of keep them safe because I still had to like go see clients and like even though masked up and wear gloves and still do home visits, making sure my older adult clients, kind of like same age range of my mom. My mom passed away when she was like 78, so
Yeah.
still out doing in New York in the epicenter of
Oof.
COVID,
Yep.
and kind of just yeah. So it was really, and at the same time, I was still planning to move out of New York and because I wanted to buy a house and still had that goal, that drive to still like how to still trying to navigate to do that. So I really didn't like even like focus on my own grieving and kind of just focus with work and kind of like self care through like Instagram and like doing all these like um the birth of like kind of
Yeah.
the explosion of like financial literacy during COVID at that time, and kind of like watching
Yeah.
all these Zoom calls and like IG lives and just uh, the DJ that was always on, kind of like the club quarantine, and like watching that, and
Yeah.
so like and like reading
I forgot about that.
buying financial books because I couldn't sleep. I ended up
Yeah.
developing like insomnia for a while, and
Yeah.
that was rough too. I guess kind of like the trauma of just everything kind of hit, and I couldn't sleep, and I was like literally going on 2 or 3 hours of sleep. Um, it was rough during that time. So
Yeah,
kind
I
of
can
like
imagine.
luckily I had the support of my girlfriend, who's now my wife. So now I got remarried within like the last 5 years. So it's and still moved and became a first gen homeowner at the time. So purchased my home in 2022.
Nice.
Tw- so it's actually, was it 2022? Yeah, yeah, 2021 got purchased my home. So yeah, so it's these and and I moved my dad in. I like, you can't live in New York anymore. You gotta come,
Yeah,
you
you gotta
know,
come over here.
because literally I had a brand new mortgage, a brand new car note to pay, and I was still paying part of the rent in New York, and it was like, I only got this month, so many months that I can help you pay. After that, like, I
Yeah.
can't help anymore. And he was trying to like rent a room in the apartment. That didn't work out at all. So it was like, you can't. You gotta come live with me. Like this,
Yeah.
I hope you find your doctors. So going back to that, you know, sandwich generation role and
Yeah.
caregiving, that really kind of like when I moved to Vin and I had to like, okay, you need a cardiologist, you need, a kidney doctor, and you need a primary care. Okay, and maybe a dermatologist. All right, let me look for all these doctors here in Delaware in a brand new state that you don't know anybody. Like, and I'm still adjusting to living in Delaware, but come live with me. There's space for you. There's, you have your own private space. There's a half bath. You can use the bathroom and do whatever you need to do. So yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just me, the kids, my wife, and my dad all in the house together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what like I'm kind of planning to have my parents live close to me and everything, and I'm telling them like y'all gonna get like a little small little maybe 1 2 bedroom right next to me so that way I could, take care of y'all and y'all could still have some kind of like like independence kind of and everything because like I think about it, and you mentioned it earlier that in the Latino community we take care of our own, and that's how like her dad, which is my grandpa, and he had, when did he had a stroke like a long time ago, and they've been caretaking him, and it never occurred to me too much. It's like yeah, okay, he's in Mexico, so like all the siblings like kind of come together and take care of him, and my mom sends money over there to help with expenses and all that stuff. And then now that my parents are getting older, I was like, okay, I need to start thinking about this of what am I gonna do because um throughout your story you were talking about all like the equipment that you had to get. It's not just like okay, like providing the for them like their food or things like that, but there's like because I don't even know if my parents are gonna like what kind of insurance they can get, like things like that, like how are they gonna pay for their medications. And so I kind of have like a little small plan for that. We'll see how that works out, but um equipment like lifts and stuff when they're like unable to move, and uh maybe canes, wheelchairs, all that stuff like costs money. And so how do we handle that, and how can we start preparing financially um to be a caretaker with all these expenses?
Well, luckily my mom, sh- she she always worked. So for as long as I can remember, like she was like in second grade when she started going back to school, getting her associate's degree. So she worked for as a paraprofessional in a New York City public school. She did that for 14, 15 years before she retired. So usually when you hit the 65, you get Medicare. So like she had her Medicare, and she was paying her premiums into that on a monthly basis. So she had that, because of her income, no decrease because she retired. So I think she was able to get long-term managed Medicaid on top of that as well. So she, usually 80% of the bill, any medical bills, goes into Medicare, and that other
Mm-hmm.
20% goes into Medicaid. Uh,
Okay.
so, um, so when the nursing home kind of came into play, they paid most was able to pay most of that. So that was another thing too of why I did the discharge because like the money was running out. They weren't no longer really paying into that anymore. Um, so it kind of worked out both hands that pandemic was like literally like COVID was here affecting us, not us particularly yet, but at least COVID was in America, and like we've seen all the cases like rising. And like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
let's take her back home. Like, especially the insurance is not going to pay anymore. And I just like kind of figure out how to take care of her properly as I can. I get a home attendant
Mm-hmm.
in the house, so all the equipment stuff you mentioned, equipment that was kind of paid through insurance as well. And like the hospital bed, it wasn't paid in full, but like So like, but insurance what was paying for it, and when my mom passed away,
Was
like it was like rented, kind of quote rented equipment. So when my
okay.
mom passed away, I had to contact the insurance company. It's like, hey, we don't need the hospital bed anymore. Like, and so luckily we found out like it was rented, like it wasn't like fully paid for by insurance, so they were able to take that equipment back
Was that through
off our
Medicaid
hands.
or a different insurance?
Yeah, I think it was like managed managed long term Medicaid, because she had a long term care
Okay.
plan through that manages the Medicaid. So I think that's for our older adults to kind of like look into, is like manage long term Medicaid. It's not. It should be. I'm not sure it's available in all 50 states, but that's something that you can look into to see if it is available in your state. And once you hit 65, you don't automatically get Medicare. That's something you have to go to Social Security office and get. People just assume I at 65. Where's my they
Yeah.
call it the red, white, and blue card, or
Yeah.
but it's a Medicare card. It's through the federal government, so people get Medicaid and Medicare confused all the time. So it's the red, white, and blue card that's from the federal government once you turn 65, but you have to go seek that card out and make sure you have Part A, which is for hospital, Part B, medical, so you can see your primary care doctor and not fully get charged whatever amount of money that is, and make sure to get
Okay.
part Medicare Part D. That's for prescriptions as well. So those are the main three parts for any 55 and older um, adults could get. Or even
Okay.
children, even like children or young adults if they have a disability, really more like 18 and older, like they potentially, depending on disability, if they have cancer or something like that, they could possibly get Medicare as well. But for older adults, definitely Part A, Part B, and Part D. Those are the main parts. Also depends on income. You may have to get what's Part C, that's managed Medicare. That's a little tricky because now you're going through like different insurance companies that have a Medicare package as well. So, and it changes every year. They change different plans, and you have to like kind of recertify to do that every year. It could get pretty annoying to do that, and like usually. It never fails every year. Come around towards the end of September into October,
Yeah.
our older adults get the phone calls. You see a lot of commercials for it, and not all plans are good plans. So like for if you're caring for someone, an older adult, they're going to see a lot of commercials on TV. Oh, that sounds like a good plan. Let me make the phone call, and then
Yeah.
they sign up for a plan, and then it's hard to get them out that plan. Like that plan's not good for you, and you find out the doctors that they have don't take the plan, and now you gotta like disenroll, and it becomes a whole hassle to do that. And
Oh
other
wow.
option, the only other option is for right now, as we are recording, is Obamacare Marketplace. ACA is still in effect, even though the current administration would love to get rid of it. But as it stands right now, that's still in place, so that's another option. Yes, it can be expensive for an individual or for a family, but that is the options that we have currently in the United States of America as it stands. So
Yeah.
those are really are the main options. Obviously, you can get Medicaid by itself as well. You could go apply and show proof of income, proof of residence, and proof that you're paying bills. If you're paying an electric bill, gas bill, whatever it is, your utility bills, and go apply for Medicaid. You can apply that online or go to like your Medicaid office, your state service center, whatever your state calls the Medicaid office. They go there and apply in person. Depending on the state, it takes anywhere from 30 to 45 days processing time, so they can process everything. I know in Delaware, where I live in New York, where I'm from, there's usually a phone interview that they do, and
Mhm.
they set up a an appointment time, and literally you have to answer whatever questions. You have to do the phone interview, otherwise that's an automatic denial of your application, and you got to do the whole process all over again. So
Oh.
um, when I tell my clients that, like, you when you apply for Medicaid, you have to do the phone interview, otherwise you get denied. So those are
Yeah.
different options. I've helped, my 9 to 5 clients apply for Obamacare. I did that for like 2 years straight. So I became a quick. I learned, like, literally, like, I learned, like, the hard way just by doing it, and it just became like
Yeah.
an expert in doing it. So, like, I can help people now do Obamacare applications if necessary, and I use the terminology interchangeably. So Obamacare, ACA, Marketplace, Affordable Care
Mhm.
Act, it all means the same thing. Obviously, what happened with the election, and you started seeing videos of, like, I lost my insurance, and I didn't
Yeah.
know Obamacare was Marketplace insurance, and I didn't know it was Affordable Care Act, and it's like,
Yeah.
that's a whole topic for a different conversation. But my point is that, it means the same thing just because don't like Obama, or like you whatever. So um
Yeah.
yeah, so for educational purposes, I always, when I talk to people, I use purposely use all those terminologies interchangeably. That way, let people know it means the same thing. That's insurance that you could get, for because people, like, literally, by, like, I know people that, like, by like $100, $200, they no longer qualified for Medicaid, and then they gotta apply for ACA, and it's like, I can't make this payment. I got to pay this monthly, and it's like $300 or $400 for themselves,
Ugh.
and it's like,
Yeah.
it's rough, and a lot of people are really kind of like stuck in the middle. And this is when we mentioned sandwich generations, but even, like,
Yeah.
just stuck with their finances, really stuck. Like, I'm out of the different tiers of income and stuff like that. So there's a lot of people, stressing out about finances. Obviously, when we go back to our sandwich generation conversation,
Mhm.
no, my son is already looking at schools, and I'm having conversations about, college and, like, majors, and he's, like, doing his own research. He originally thought about doing one major, then he wants to make, pretty good money in when he gets out of school, and it's like, is it worth doing this major, and maybe possibly changing that
Yeah.
major to do something else. And then my dad is pretty much cut and dry. We've had that talk of, like, what happens when you pass away,
Mhm.
because of his health issues. He's had, some strokes and, like, minor heart attacks. So in
Mhm.
my head, I always had it like, oh, he's gonna pass first, and then when COVID hit, you know, now I'm now I'm caring for someone I thought that wasn't gonna have around.
Yeah.
And he's sometimes I think he's gonna outlive me. So I was like, I gotta, like, I had to get a whole living will for myself, and now I gotta get an estate plan that I've been, like, for
Uh-huh.
myself, because I purchased a home and got my business and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I've been dragging my feet doing that, but that's, like, my own personal finance story. So, we deal with our own personal finances, and that's that struggle of that sandwich generation, dealing with. So I'm nowhere close to having assets to retire yet. So worried
Yeah.
about how to try to plan for my own retirement. Luckily, in my case, my dad is simple. Is like, I just want to be cremated, and, like,
Yeah.
that's it. You do whatever he's still, you do whatever you want with my body. It's just like, just cremate me, do whatever. Then, but that's not typical for a lot of us
Yeah.
too. A lot of us are afraid to have that conversation. So what I
Mhm.
do with my business, my coaching, I help, you know people who are in that sandwich generation, have that conversation. What are you afraid of? What is, the
Mhm.
that imposter syndrome? What do you think? What's your worst fear of having, that estate planning conversation with your loved one that you're taking care of?
Yeah.
And even within our community, we need to kind of, like, stop having. it might not be popular to say, but we need to stop like having that expectation that we are the retirement plan for
Yes.
our older adult family members. So,
Yeah.
if we could get no life insurance, and I know a lot of us come from immigrant families, and some of us might not still be like legal residents in the country,
Yeah.
so that we could. Especially now with the Trump administration, a lot of things financial that we had planned to do, we probably can't plan to do right now. No
Mhm.
possible with everything going on. So like there's ways that um, those who are migrated into the country or have been here for a while that they get the I-10 numbers, that they could get the
Oh yeah.
that social security numbers through the IRS. But now I'm sure a lot of people is going to stop doing that. Fear of uh,
Yeah, that's gonna affect the
deportation.
community.
So like so that could have led to them opening up bank accounts at least and try to like be in the system to try to like work, and we already like work and pay taxes and stuff like that anyway, for many of us. So it's a lot of things that we could be talking about in terms of finances to help the sandwich generation in when we talk about Latino community might not be effective anymore because of what the current administration wants to
Yeah.
do, or just the fear of what they might do. And that fear is real, and that we have to like acknowledge that and talk about that. And you know, even for myself, like Puerto Rican from the Bronx, and even like we're like detaining Puerto Ricans too. Like so, it's like
Yeah.
not even like we're not safe.
You're
So
not
it's
safe
like
either.
so it's like it's a crazy
Yeah, it's
time
such a
that we're in. Obviously when we talk about self care in terms, just try to like, it's that fine line of staying informed while like there's only so much news you could take, but the current
mhm.
administration is doing so much so fast that and it's purposely done to like stress us out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have to still like be informed. Like there's still whatever your original financial plans are. If you didn't have them now, if you didn't do anything these last 5 years, that you kind I did it. I literally did a presentation, and like last week as of this recording,
Mhm.
like telling people like if you didn't do anything related to like financial literacy the last 5 years, like you're already behind, and we were already behind because Latinos are because of systemic racism
Yeah.
has been behind. So now's the time to do something with finances, whether like open up a high yield savings account, start putting some money into it, get that free interest. If you work a 9 to 5, like put that money into a 401k as best you can. If you leave that job, make sure stay as long as you can in that 9 to 5 so that that money could be vested and you could take that money out. And
Yeah.
there's different companies out there that can help with the getting that 401k putting into, like, you could do it yourself and learn to manage the 401k yourself and putting money into that from
Yeah.
old 401ks. I've been doing that, trying to do that to start 2025, like because I'm a known job hopper, and like I did this 401k from like 2020 2021. It was like, let me finally like get it out that account and put it in a new account. So I've been on a struggle bus and dealing with that. So I'm trying to learn putting it into practice at the same time,
Yeah.
at least educating my clients on even that you can even do that. So like a lot of people, because it's not taught to us that basically what I'm learning and giving back to my community, my coaching program, my
Yeah.
one-on-one coaching program, when I offer that to like different organizations, nonprofits, and like corporate clients that I work with, when I do presentations and just letting people know that this stuff exists, and kind of like the caregiving is real. We work a 9 to 5, and then we like
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
rough.
our jobs are not flexible. Like I need to take this time off, like go care for my dad, or like my kid's playing baseball, and I want to go see him play, and it's like kind of like take at least a half hour or leave a half hour earlier from work to go see him play. So it's kind of like life be life in, and companies need to. They're not very flexible sometimes with giving us that time off, or
Yeah.
we don't build that time off, or they only give you like 2 weeks of even like just like
Yeah, that's
PTO
the other
time, and
thing.
it's like they lump all the now these companies think they're slick, and they lump all the PTO time together, so all the sick, personal, and vacation time is all one bank,
Yeah.
so that you got to calculate the PTO time even more carefully than you used to. So it's like it's really rough. It's really rough.
That's the other aspect of like understanding like the finances with caregiving, because it's not just like like the insurance and all the stuff that comes along with it. It's like your own personal finances take a hit, like you said, because they don't give us any, like they don't care. They don't care that your dad needs to go to an appointment or whatever. And it's like, so that's another thing that I have to plan for, to that, hey, I might have to take a, a pay cut or something or whatever, or lose some hours this week because I have to take him to a medical appointment or whatever. So yeah, it's a lot. It's very stressful. Glad you talked about Medicare, because that's one of the things that I gotta get.
And unfortunately, you're like running out of time
Yeah.
because recently the House bill passed that they want to cut no
Mm-hmm.
Medicare and Medicaid. So there's still time for you to do that paperwork so that you could get the Medicare, but you got to do it fast because
Oh
if
yeah,
that
let me get on that.
this
That's true. I
administration
forgot about
is
that.
not this administration is not playing, and a lot of people are really going to be affected. And not j- and the sandwich generation is really going to feel the pinch. We talk about you
Mm-hmm.
know just Medicaid and Medicaid alone is any cuts, and even potential cuts of Social Security. I'm still trying to figure out how they plan on doing the Social Security aspect, but in terms of Medicaid and Medicare, any potential cuts that happens is really going to hit home. Like doctors are barely taking like Medicare insurance; they're barely taking Medicaid insurance
Mm-hmm.
as it is. That's why that long term care Medicaid to look into to applying that could kind of help you out. As a substitute for that, but those companies have been getting hit, um, even during like the
Mm-hmm.
first Trump administration. So there's also
Yeah.
a program called a PACE program. They're
Mm-hmm.
slowly populating throughout the country. Is a medical model. It's trying to always forget the acronym of it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
basically is all inclusive medical care for older adults. So it
Mm-hmm.
includes a social worker, it includes primary care, it includes a nurse, includes occupational therapist, physical
Mm-hmm.
therapist, a speech language pathologist, sometimes home attendants on staff. So pretty much a whole medical team caring for an individual plan. So
Mm-hmm.
a negative to that is that they manage your Medicaid, so they help you apply for Medicaid. They could finagle ways for you to qualify for Medicaid, so they
Mm-hmm.
work with whatever finances you have. However, they're very limited in terms of what doctors you can see. You got to see their own network of
Mm-hmm.
doctors. Um, they're they're popping up slowly more throughout the country. There's like where I live in Delaware. There's two PACE programs here in the state. In New York, where I live at, there's quite a few. They're popping up like nationwide. Is a very good if you could get into it. There are some like drawbacks like anything else, but that's a way for you could
Mm-hmm.
still get care for your older adult family members. Just look up Google PACE programs in whatever state that you live in, and see if there's one that does exist, and kind of look
Mm-hmm.
into that. So that's an option. I worked at a PACE program, during the pandemic, and my dad currently is part of one of the PACE programs here in Delaware. So
Okay.
it's like, so it's, like I said, it's not the greatest in the world, but at least it's something to offset.
Something.
It's something like
Yeah.
at this point something is something, and we're talking about like going back to all the things Trump wants to do that affect us, not only just cuts of Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, our food bank reserves are being cut.
Mm-hmm.
They're losing federal funding. So those are like, things in communities that our seniors can go get, or in terms of community resources, that all these things are being cut. There's cuts to potential cuts to mental health services. That a lot of our older adults are lonely. They live by themselves, and that depression in seniors is a real thing. It doesn't get talked
Yeah.
about as much. And obviously in Latino community, we don't talk about mental health enough.
Yeah.
Period. But no, the locura, all these things that are negative talked about in our communities. So like, but it is something that needs to be talked about. That address those issues in my coaching program as well. So it's a lot happening
Yeah.
all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. There's a lot, and one, like, I felt like just as I was like getting a handle of this and starting, and all of a sudden, like you said, the Trump administration is just like, doing whatever the heck they want, and it's making it difficult to kind of plan and stuff. So, yeah. But you mentioned that you do provide coaching services, and for those that, do want to seek out, help with, everything that we talked about, like what kind of services and where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm currently offering a free 45-minute consultation on what's the number one stressor you have going on in terms of finances, or just be caregiving in general. So you can go to basmorenoconsulting.com, and sign up for that consultation, and then from there we could talk about what one-on-one services will look like. Um, and yet it'll be short, sweet. It'll be like 2 to 3 sessions, depending on your individual needs. So
Mm-hmm.
short-term financial education and counseling. If you need more, we could discuss more after those initial sessions. But yet we could talk about what's going on in terms of your finances, in terms of caregiving. If you need to have that conversation of estate planning, what would that look like? If you have family involvement,
Mm-hmm.
um, do you guys, if you have siblings, for example, if you have siblings, if you guys disagreed, like kind of had those conversations with siblings, and how to even have those type of conversations. So yeah, so BasMorenoConsulting.com is where you can find me, online. Also available on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at Bas Moreno Consulting. You can find me there, follow me there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, let's work and have these important conversations that we need to have.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for coming on here and sharing, your story, and, giving us some pointers. I know I have some stuff to do, especially now that you lit a fire under my ass with like, hey, you better get on this because it might be gone. So I will be doing that tomorrow with my dad. And but yeah, I will have all the information to like your one-on-one and all that stuff down in the show notes, description, depending where you're listening. And yeah, other than that, yeah, again, thank you so much for coming, and that's it for this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and share this episode so others can also find this podcast. Don't forget to follow me on all my social medias listed in the show notes below. where you can also find resources to help you in your financial journey. If you're interested in becoming a guest on the podcast, you can find that information in the show notes. Other than that, thank you so much for your support, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.